Hello everyone, my name is Alejandro Hernandez and I will be hosting today's CSE workshop. This really isn't a workshop, but more so a tutorial of resources that you may find useful for the upcoming school year. As a computer scientist, you will find yourself working in the Linux lab a lot. However, due to the ongoing pandemic, you can't do this right now. Fortunately, we have software that is available to help you during these difficult times. Software that you may have heard of already is Putty. Putty will allow you to connect to the computers at the Linux lab so that you may code using the terminals there. And another software that we'll be going over is WinSCP. WinSCP allows you to manage your files in your Linux computer into your Linux account at the Linux labs. And if you wish to do so, you can get files from your account in the Linux computers and transfer them to your own personal computer and vice versa. These programs are really helpful, especially right now that we can't go to the Linux labs. So to start, you're going to want to download both of these. There will be links in the description below. I have already installed them, so let's just go ahead and open Putty. And there we are. Putty should look something like this when you open it up. Obviously, most of this should be blank. Now, for the host name, you can type jbh3-1.csc.csusb.edu, the port 22, connection type SSH, and then you can hit open. Alternatively, you can also type your ID here, your Coyote ID, at jbh3-1.csc.csusb.edu. I would recommend to do it like this, but I guess so you can see both options, I'm going to start with this without the ID. So it'll open into a new window where it will ask you to log in using the Coyote ID. If you were to put your ID into the host name like I mentioned, you won't need to do this, so it saves you a step or two. Then you will put your password for MyCoyote after you log in with your ID, and that's about it. You're connected to the Linux labs. However, you're not SSH to begin coding yet. To do so, you just type SSH JB358-1. Now here you can also type 359 for the room number, as 358 and 359 are both Linux labs. And for the number after the dash, it could be any number between 1 and 30. So we can do JB359-30, or we can do 358-1. Whatever you like, your lucky number, or whatever you prefer. It'll ask you for your password again. So just go ahead and do that. And that's about it. We can start coding, we can start making new files and doing our assignments for our CSE classes. Now, let's talk about WinSCP. If you're a beginning student, your documents won't look as messed up as mine do. I've been a student for 4 years now, and as you can see, I have a messy documents folder. So there is a way to make directories and just make folders like this. As you can see, I just made a new folder, and you can see it here. And then you can go, I believe it is move. Let's try to move a Vado file. I'm gonna go for 312.45.backup.jou, and I believe I'll just type folder. Now we're gonna see that that file is no longer there as I moved it into the folder. And you can see this when we go to folder. Now you can do that multiple times if you wish to get rid of all these files that you accidentally made. But that will honestly probably take you a few minutes and be painful to do. It's really time consuming. So there's an alternative to this. We can use WinSCP. Alright. How does that look? One moment. Huh. Oh? Huh. One moment while I fix this so you can see it better. What does it look like now? Oh, that's why. There we are, and now I want CP2. I want CP2 is good. I'm gonna fix this one. Ah, I see, okay. So the when SCP opens, there will be two windows. We're gonna focus on the login window right now. This should all be blank as it's your first time opening this. For the host name, you can do, as I mentioned earlier, jbh3-1.csc.csusb.edu. Alternatively, if I get rid of my username here, oh, I can't because that's saved. Alternatively, I can type in my ID. That is the wrong one. jbh3-1.csc.csusb.edu, port number 22. And now I can attempt to log in, I believe. Yes. Continue. It'll ask for my password, so just type in my Coyote password. And I can get that on the screen for you guys. And now we can see if I can fix this better. You can see both my computer on the left and its files, and my Linux profile over at the Linux Labs in CSUSB. Here are all those Vivado files you may have seen earlier. And here is, where's the folder? There it is. So now I can just move all these files so it looks a bit cleaner into folder. Target remote. And now it looks a bit nicer when we go to Putty. Now here we're back in Putty. You're gonna want to make sure you're logged into Putty when you do this, by the way, as I believe that's the only way it'll work. Now we're in the folder directory, so that's where we're still seeing all the Vivado files. My mistake there. But here, now you can see that everything looks somewhat clean. Now, of course, I can go ahead and start organizing all my stuff here, but it's already a mess, so let's just disregard it for a moment. But let's say I need to pick up a file from documents. We're gonna go to a lab from CSE 460. Let's say I need my lab 1 PDF. I need to get this and edit it or view it in my own computer. Now I can just open it here if I wish to, and I won't show you that because that's actual. What is this? This is lab assignment, so I won't show you that. But trust me when I say it opened. Now, if I need that on my own personal computer for whatever reason, I can just drag it over. Oh, I opened it again, honestly. I can drag it over, and let's say I'm gonna save it in the Linux folder. Now you'll see a window pop up asking you if you want to download this. Click OK. And then we check the Linux, and you can see that the Lab 1 PDF has been transferred over. Now when you're done with WinSCP, finish your session, just head over here to session and close your session, and you'll see the login screen again. Just X out of everything and you should be good. Now let's go back to Putty. To log out of Putty, you're gonna want to hold Control and D, which will log you out of the computer, and if you do that one more time, you'll be able to exit. Now we're gonna open up Putty one more time. There we are. So I can show you one more thing. Now to do this, I'll just delete my lab. Now, to save you a few steps, I don't recall if it saves every time you run it, so let's just assume it doesn't. You've already typed up this information and you may not want to type it again, so what you're going to want to do here is just load it onto your default save it onto your default settings. So those are your default settings now, so when you load it, it'll be there. Now my Aura Farm session actually has my ID, and when I load it, you can see that as a host name. And you can see my default settings are GBH3-1 without my ID. Let's go back to Aura Farm here. Now just to show you that you can skip a step by typing in your ID, let's open up Putty. As you can see, after opening it up, it shows me using username and my ID. So it saves me a few steps. Alright, that is it for this workshop. I hope you learned something new today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on our Slack. Hope you have a good day. Bye bye.